أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah everyone. Welcome to the fifth part of the Pearls of Wisdom in fasting and Ramadan. And we are entering the second half of Ramadan, and it is possible that the Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, night of Qadr, could be upon us in the next 15 days or so. So inshallah, may Allah help us gain understanding of the wisdoms of fasting and Ramadan, and inshallah live that in its fullest. Inshallah. And with that, inshallah, this week it'll be me, Mustafa, from Boston area, moderating, and inshallah our dear Colin Oja, Colin Turner, and Nazif Abi, who has been also a frequent moderator with us, inshallah, to speak. And as always, we welcome participation from all our attendees, inshallah. And with that, this ayah, as we have spoken about a few times, is about Ramadan, and this whole treatise in 29th letter is a bit of a tafsir of that. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. It was the month of Ramadan in which the Quran was bestowed from on high as a guidance unto man and a self-evident proof that guidance and as standard to discern true from false. So inshallah, last time we've talked about this a little bit, about the Quran and how it is related to Ramadan and what type of mood and stance and what type of attitude we should have towards Quran in Ramadan, and listening to it as if it is being first revealed and it's being revealed to us and for us, for our specific conditions and that. And we also talked about in the seventh point about the trade in good deeds. And I think we have largely read this part. There might be just like a couple paragraphs left to it. So we'll just read through it, not necessarily asking for any comments, because we kind of talked about this quite extensively last time. And there is two more points left in the whole treatise, 8th and 9th. So we will see. It's a bit of a stretch to be able to finish all of them, but maybe we'll try. I'm trying that because again we are entering the last 10 days. So next week's we're not sure, right, if we will be able to hold the next week's one, because it'll be very close to the end, possibly the little Qadr that evening, because the Sunday evening is could be the 27th night. And then the week after that will be actually third day of the Eid, inshallah. So from that perspective, we may have to cancel the next two sessions. So I'll try to see if we can fit them all. If not, I think it's fine, right? We, inshallah, this treatise is available for everyone to, inshallah, reflect on their own. So inshallah, I'll read through this quickly. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, seventh point. One of the many wise purposes behind the practice of fasting in Ramadan concerns the trade in good deeds and the earning of spiritual profit, which is one of the reasons why humankind was placed on earth. The reward for righteous actions in the month of Ramadan is 1,000 times more than in other months of the year. According to a prophetic tradition, each word of the all-wise Quran carries 10 merits when recited and will bear 10 fruits in paradise. During Ramadan, however, each word yields not 10, but 1,000 fruits, and verses such as Ayat al-Kursi yield thousands of merits for each word. If they are recited on a Friday in Ramadan, the yield is even greater. And on the night of power, Laylatul Qadr, each word carries 30,000 merits. Indeed, the all-wise Quran, each word of which yields 30,000 eternal fruits, is like a luminous tree of Tuba, which will earn in Ramadan countless millions of eternal fruits for those who believe. Consider then this sacred eternal trade and the profits to be had from it. Consider it and think of the infinite loss suffered by those who do not appreciate the true value of those words. In one sense, then, the month of Ramadan is like a market designed for the trade of the hereafter. It is a vast tract of fertile land where the crops of the hereafter may be sown. For the growth and flourishing of actions, Ramadan is akin to the showers of spring. It is a brilliant holy festival at which mankind displays its worshipfulness in the face of the sovereignty of God's lordship. And it is because of it is so mankind has been ordered to practice fasting and self-denial. Mankind has been told to abstain rather than surrender to the animalistic desires of its lower self, nafs, its lusts and its desires for the trivial and the futile. By rising above its own animality and by ignoring the demands that the world makes of it, the lower self may approach an angelic state and thus be able to engage with the trade of the hereafter. Through fasting, one approaches the state of the hereafter, the state of a spirit appearing in bodily form. In that state, each human being becomes a mirror, reflecting all of the names of the one whom all beings need, but who is himself above all needs. Indeed, the month of Ramadan itself acquires a kind of permanence and eternity within this short life, within this brief, fleeting world. For a single Ramadan has the ability to produce fruits equal to a lifetime lasting 80 years. The fact that, according to the Quran, the Laylatul Qadr is more auspicious than 1,000 months, 83 years, is proof of this, if proof were needed. For example, a monarch may declare that certain days of his reign, his accession to the throne, for instance, or his official coronation, are to be public holidays. These holidays are designed to be a glittering and glorious expression of his sovereignty. On those days, he confers special favors on his subjects, appearing before them in person, bestowing on them honors and other bounties, and paying special attention to those of them who are especially loyal and worthy. Similarly, the all-glorious monarch is a ruler without beginning or end of 18,000 worlds. And the ruler has revealed in the month of Ramadan the brilliant decree known as the all-wise Quran, which pertains to each one of those worlds. Wisdom thus requires that Ramadan should be like a special festival, a display of divine lordship, a spiritual gathering for all beings. And since Ramadan is such a festival, God has ordered man to practice self-restraint so that he may be drawn away to a certain extent from base and animalistic activities. The most excellent way of fasting is to make the human organs and senses, such as the eyes, ears, heart, and thoughts, fast, along with the stomach. The most complete kind of fast occurs when we lead all of the senses and appetites away from all unlawful things, all trivia and futility, so that we may guide them to the kind of worship that befits them. For example, the fasting of the tongue means withdrawing from lying, from backbiting, from cursing, and the use of obscene language, and to make it fast from such activities. Once it has withdrawn from that which is unlawful, one should then busy it with activities such as recitation of the Quran, prayer, repetition of God's beautiful names, seeking God's blessings on the Prophet, and asking for forgiveness. The eyes too should fast by abstaining from that which is unlawful, such as looking at members of the opposite sex who are outside the circle of kinship, or indeed at anything that is unlawful. And they should be used instead to look at that which is lawful and learn from it. Similarly, the ears should fast by refusing to listen to that which is harmful and should be employed instead to listen to the Quran and so on. Indeed, all of one's organs and senses should fast, and this should not be that difficult. For once, the stomach, which is the body's largest and most complex factory, has been forced to take a holiday from work through fasting, it should be relatively easy to make the smaller workshops in the body follow suit. So, as I mentioned, we had mentioned this trading piece of the seventh point last week, but I think there is that second piece about having other members of the body fast as well, which I think is very important, right? Especially this Ramadan with everything happening in the world, it is definitely an important aspect that we should definitely, especially entering the last 10 days, I think we need that more than ever. But I'll stop here in case there are some comments from Kulun Hocam, since you were here last week as well, because that last piece, especially about the having our other faculties also fast. I think this has been mentioned in a few different settings here, but I just want, since we just read it, I wanted to maybe get your thoughts.
Bismillah. It's interesting that the verse that you read so beautifully at the beginning um, has the word unzila,
Mhm.
which we could maybe translate as was revealed, but was sent down.
Yeah,
Our rizq comes to us from obviously from malakut, from ghaib, and malakut is above mulk, not geographically, but ontologically, conceptually. And the heavens are above the earth, and from the heavens we get rain. Rain is sent down, and the earth is receptive. And wherever it is receptive, things grow from it. So our rizq is also sent down to us, but our rizq is not just food and drink. Our senses, our organs, our subtle faculties, all of these are sent down. All of these are unzilat, if you wish. They're all sent down, excuse me, from malakut. And our physical rizq we get because of the sending down of rain onto earth. But our metaphorical rizq, all of these things, um, we get because they're sent down from ghaib or from samawat, in the metaphorical sense to the ard. In other words, from malakut to mulk. And in Ramadan, um, we need to have receptive soil. The soil of our being needs to be receptive. And we can only make it receptive by clearing away all the things which will choke the new growth of flowers and plants and trees. So we have to get rid of the weeds. Weeds are flowers which we don't need in the garden. I mean, they're beautiful, but relatively speaking, maybe flowers which are harmful, or different types of shrubs and plants which are harmful for what you've got in the garden. You need to take them out. We weed the garden when we're doing the gardening. And so we have to weed out during Ramadan all of those things which um, inhibit our growth and prevent us from growing, such as backbiting, such as using our senses in the wrong way, our tongue, our eyes, our ears, all of these things. We have to make our soil receptive so that what Allah sends down, you know, in Laylatul Qadr is actually Ayyamullah, all of the Ayyamullah, those points in our life or in our practice where Allah's rahmah by default becomes much more visible to us because we're already fasting. We're not eating and we're not drinking, so we're preparing ourselves. But we have to take that preparation through to include everything so that, as we go through Ramadan, slowly you're taking out all the, maybe the poisonous plants in our garden, in our Imani garden, those plants which are poisonous or have thorns, and which are threatening the life of the other plants. So this is what was coming to mind when I was listening to you reading.
yeah. This is beautiful. That example of a garden and weeding that out for the other good things, right? Which you said also, I think is reflected here with he's not just saying abstain from the bad things, but fill them in back with good things, such as, for the ear, just the hear, refusing to listen to harmful things, but employ it instead to listen to Quran. So those are like the beautiful flowers to grow, so that when you weed those unlawful things out, you have those beautiful flowers to replace them, inshallah. Mm. Thank you. Nazif abi, would you like to say a few words about this aspect of Ramadan, to like having our other organs and faculties fast to add anything to Code Najam?
Oh, yeah, sure. Like maybe just a couple things, but thank you so much, especially for Kunlajamix making it, giving us a great analogy to just understand and move our attention to the importance of course, I mean, just now like personal kind of growth. And it's a kind of great trait. One thing that while I was listening to, just I was gonna say like something else, but thanks a lot again. Like these the analogies and parables like made me think something else, and then went back to the especially the word trade caught my attention when it was when you said like it doesn't matter when he used especially the days and the time that we're given in this world, of course. I mean, it is very short compared to the hereafter, and then we keep getting these invitations, right? So, like some Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, I mean, it's God Almighty, so has given us, and then as we just like pointed out, just then we're not alone. We're not at our disposition, our disposal and life is not a coincidence and everything. So all these are continuously reminded to us. And then again, like it's with the this beautiful and holy month of our Ramadan comes in, and again the invitation is repeated. And with again like some beautiful invitations and the accentuation of when you do this, there's this much of merit. When you do that, when there's like hundredfold of merit, when there's like thousandfold of so on and so forth. And this importance is again and again emphasized and reminded us, right? And this is a great kind of opportunity, again, like I mean, just to use that trait. So it's basically the message is again like is repeated and reminded to all of us that the importance of it is just be careful. And again, so like now, just we're not only just cutting like just our earthly, just eating and drinking and other kind of stuff. It's just the Ramadan is also another kind of reminding, like a kind of part is that we are traveling, we are going, like we are just basically our journey is to a different kind of like an apart, so that the trait is here. And so, and then of course, I mean, now that these merits, like, sometimes, so, I mean, I've heard like in different kind of, whenever this treatise is read it, so sometimes like, people say like, someone, well, isn't it like just too much like that merit? So like maybe some people are just gonna uh give like their attention only in Ramadan. Yeah, maybe just, but then we shouldn't like just busy our lives like and minds like with that kind of thing. But I believe like the importance is that the trade-off, the just to like just reminding that the opportunity cost, like, yeah, of course, I'm just for some people that is it is going to be very low, but some people it is going to be high. So yes, because I guess now just we need to now work now and then of course I'm just take the importance of it and just use this beautiful kind of like in a trade to be prepared for the other life for hereafter. And Ramadan is a great kind of opportunity, and again like in a great invitation, great like it's an incentive to just as we just like pointed out like as Kolnajam and you like point like that personal growth like kind of part, just give our attention like one more time and give the preparation like and then again like it's been just the recheck like and it's been just what am I doing. And so like use this great like it's been opportunity to prepare for other life and just see the importance and experience it with this beautiful kind of gatherings and beautiful kind of just the opportunities to read Quran and to prepare like some just for other life. And that's like kind of that one part like this that caught my attention like today, especially that trade part. It's
Mm-hmm.
always there, the incentive is always there, and just again like it's personal kind of be careful kind of just attention sign. Yeah, thank
Yes,
you. Yes. Mhm.
indeed. And it's definitely very, very important and is discussed in a little bit last week as well, that trade is an incentive, but also I guess that example or that analogy is given of that being a special day definitely is important, right? Like it kind of raises the status of Ramadan on everybody's eyes and um,
Mhm.
world. Thank you, Jazakallah khair. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, in the interest of time, I'll also try to read the eighth point. We may or may not have time for ninth, but inshallah, I'll try to read through it once, and then we can come back and see if we have specific comments, inshallah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Eighth point. Another of the wise purposes behind the Ramadan fast concerns man's personal life and is as follows. The Ramadan fast from food and drink is a healing, physical, and spiritual program of the most important kind. When one's lower soul, nafs, leads one to eat and drink as one pleases, it is not only harmful for us physically, from a medical point of it's not only harmful for us physically from a medical point of view. For when we fall on things and devour them like vultures, without considering whether they are lawful or unlawful, we poison our spiritual life as well. Such a soul finds it very difficult to obey the heart or the spirit. It is more than happy to take the reins in its own hands, gradually turning into something utterly uncontrollable. Instead of being mounted and led by its owner, the lower self turns into a beast that mounts its owner and rides him or her wherever its fancy takes it. Fasting in Ramadan, however, and particularly the fast from food and drink, trains the lower self and makes it accustomed to a kind of diet. Gradually, the soul begins to discipline itself and learns to listen to and obey commands. Furthermore, through fasting, the lower self will no longer be making the wretched stomach ill by stuffing it full of food before the last meal has even been digested. And by withdrawing even from lawful acts, as it is ordered to do, the soul will learn how to listen to the commands of both the Sharia and human reason, thus avoiding that which is unlawful. In short, it will try not to destroy its owner's spiritual life. Furthermore, the vast majority of human beings often suffer from hunger. Human beings thus need both hunger and discipline in order to be able to learn patience and endurance. Fasting in Ramadan means the patient endurance of a period of hunger that is longer than 15 hours in most places. As such, it provides discipline and is a kind of prolonged training session. Fasting, if done properly, is certainly a cure for impatience and lack of endurance, both of which tend to prolong or increase man's affliction. Moreover, the stomach is like a factory with numerous workers, and many of the body's organs are connected to it. If the lower self does take a rest during this month, it makes the factory's workers and the organs attached to it forget their particular duties. It keeps them so busy that they remain imprisoned under its tyranny. They become so confused and distracted by the continuous hustle and bustle of the factory that all of the workers and all of the other organs cannot help but forget their real and most valuable duties. It is for this reason that for centuries, those close to God have disciplined themselves through fasting in order to train their souls and attain perfection. Through fasting in Ramadan, the factory's workers understand that they were not created solely for the sake of the factory. Similarly, the rest of the organs are freed from the base amusements of the factory and are able to delight in the more elevated pleasures of the spirit. It is for this reason that in Ramadan, the believers experience forms of enlightenment and spiritual joy which differ in accordance with their degrees. Consequently, the subtle faculties, such as the heart, the intellect, and the spirit, make great progress during Ramadan on account of the fasting and self-denial. The stomach may indeed weep, but the rest of the organs, limbs, and senses jump for joy. Inshallah, this is the eighth point. This is looking more to the physical experience of fasting. And of course, I think endurance, patience aspects in how it trains the human physically as well. But there are definitely some interesting points here. So maybe I'll turn to Kolnajam first to get his opinions on how fasting is connected to our physical being and how that physical being actually, because you had that analogy of the garden. So there's a physical connection of our spiritual life, looks like, especially to our stomachs and with our patience, etc. How do you see this?
Could we have Nazif, Brother Nazif, go first this time, and I can return
Okay,
to that afterwards, if he doesn't
sure,
mind.
sure. If he's
No.
up for it.
Sure, not at all. I
Okay.
was just like, yeah, I took it like it's just a little kind of just, yeah, a different kind of position in my chair. So I said I was gonna listen to Collision. Yeah, let me just get up. Yeah, just reposition myself. Oh, uh, sure. Yeah, this part, it is a great like a part, like, especially when we were kind of reading, as I just kind of pointed out, and of course we all pointed out, it's not only just kind of fasting, and this part is just reminded me to like in a different kind of halakas, like when we were reading this part, and of course some other Kalisman parts, that impatience is I guess like gonna say it's an important kind of like just keyword again, like something that caught my attention. That like how important that is to train one's body and one's organs and to a different and to a much elevated uh, purpose, right? And and it's especially like another kind of like a keyword like in intermittent fasting, if done properly. That is it's another kind of like something just now like I believe a warning for all of us. That means like just now everyone can fast, everyone can do such and such, but then like it's not the proper way. It's not the just what must we do like just mean how is it how should it done like I guess like it's going back again like in the patience and endurance. So, and how should we learn this, that's to be patient, to like something to endure? Because again, just now enduring, and these are like, it's and a very kind of high, maybe just points in life that if one, of course, I'm just, if one would like to become a better person, so I guess it's always like, going to goes through like this, like, patience, right? So, like, someone, anyone. And to begin with, of course, I'm just now even forgive me, like, please correct me if I'm wrong, but just just what I have like let's learn so far, of course, when we are even saying that like Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, so Allah Rahman and Rahim. So it's always like these are like some that we are using some keywords, and then those keywords is like an acceptance. It starts with, of course, an acceptance, right? So like I'm very accepting that we are not like kind of complete. We have maybe just of course some just like shortcomings in life. So like maybe we are like not Jesus, right? So like just we are like some now. So if one starts like accepting that like it's been just now as a human being, so I cannot be perfect, I cannot be this. So then that means like it is taking a step forward to become a better person. So like to become a better person is just like now it should go through as some sort of kind of a disciplined way of training and educating one's body, one's like mind. I guess like this, I mean, that is just like, and it's a great like kind of just now calling from start like when he just says, hold well, just look carefully. So like in Ramadan, it's maybe it's a great like a kind of starting point. So like now just teach your body, right? Like the two like is that factories, like it's starting with your stomach. And then like an impatience is like just now not to follow the instant gratification that especially today's age, alhamdulillah, like it's now we live in a just a magnificent kind of like some age of like just now technology and everything, but then at the same time it is like causing a huge or like bringing a huge kind of danger for all of like humanity, is like just being very kind of too comfortable lifestyle that like people are forgetting about like now that what discipline is about. So what like just now training one's maybe life is about like this when what is the purpose. So like everyone is now just slowly, unfortunately, people are forgetting about the main kind of cause, main journey of like just now reaching to a destination that is of course now the spiritual life, the hereafter. So now just yeah, another one. Yeah, so like that. So how can I just now train like my soul, attain perfection? Is I guess like it is a great kind of like a starting point that we need to carefully rethink and reevaluate our life and our habits, our daily kind of like this lifestyle, of now just getting away from this like now instant gratification. I mean, whatever that is actually. I mean, I believe like it varies from one person to another person, but then I guess like it's now start like it gives a basic kind of daily life is just basically starting from like in the stomach. So even today, like I'm not just like talking to anyone. It's just that is like we need to be careful. So we need to like just be have this patience, and then of course be set ourselves a great example to the youngsters and to our family members and everyone around us to be at that sort of like that kind of level, and then being a disciplined person, not to practice that instant gratification uh, in our like daily activities, hopefully. So then we can be disciplined, and then just I'll be a good example to everyone, because again, as we just read, like how great and fruitful that just training is, that we just see and explained and summarized by Ustad Bediüzzaman, like it's been perfectly right here in this. So now that I mean this is what I have at the moment. So now maybe
Yeah.
if I remember something else, I'll jump in again. So now I'd like to leave it for like Kolnajam to continue.
Yeah, yeah. Inshallah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was great, definitely,
Yeah.
to have that discipline, the
Hmm.
self-discipline, and then
Isn't it? Yeah.
uh, yeah, because at the end of the day, there's that
Hmm.
connection. Our body and our spirit shares the same
Hmm.
house, right? At the end of the day, and
Absolutely.
if our
Absolutely.
body has
Hmm.
that discipline, learns to
Hmm.
have that discipline, I think our
Hmm.
spirit, inshallah, will take example and really keep. And it
Absolutely.
is it is probably no consequence, no coincidence that in
Hmm.
the ascetics and those, like he's mentioned here as well, right? Like those close to God have disciplined themselves, right? This is even not
Absolutely.
not only in Islam,
Absolutely.
right? Even those like Buddhist monks and
Hmm.
stuff like that, they do this type of like asceticism, or like getting
Hmm.
abstaining from food and drink for a extended
Absolutely.
period and all
Absolutely.
that. Of course, there's
Yeah.
also
Hmm.
scientific backing on all of this too, right? Like I don't want to
Absolutely.
go into
Absolutely.
those, but like they
Hmm.
are saying like the stomach
Hmm.
is the
Hmm.
second biggest centers of neurons in the body after the brain.
Yeah.
So it
Hmm.
definitely has that connection, like literally that connection to the
Hmm.
rest of the body. So that
Hmm.
analogy of big factory is definitely very suitable in this case as well. So yeah, it is uh, definitely that connection. I think is something that we
Hmm.
kind of not always see, but I think we kind of have to see, because. And then I think one thing that you mentioned here as well, that this whole thing about learning the soul, like when it learns this withdrawing from lawful acts, it is a bit of a training for it to then go back and listen to Sharia, listen to
Hmm.
actually haram things, and avoiding the haram things, avoiding the things that are already that are
Hmm.
unlawful.
Yeah.
It has that training and
Yeah.
endurance.
And because like, it's now like if you are not like training your body, your soul in a disciplined kind of way, so like basically just you are, I mean, God forbid, like you're just getting or becoming a spoiled like kind of person. So like when you
Yeah.
are like a little it's been spoiling yourself like just too much, of course. How are you going
Mm.
to be disciplined? How are you going to be careful kind of listener of the universe and reader of the universe, right? So like
Yeah.
because you're not training or you're not like behaving correctly. So then, of course, I mean, you're not going to be giving your ears to like in a lawful kind of acts or like in a lawful kind of commands. So
Mm.
because you're spoiling your body, you're spoiling your ear, your nafs, and so you're going to be like going to become like some sort of kind of unattentive student of Quran or student of this universe. So then, like
Mm.
it's been God forbid, like it's been there is a huge like just chance that you may fail on
Mm.
this like test, I guess. So that's I mean that's what I get. Just my last time
Yeah.
comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Definitely very helpful in opening this up, inshallah. So I'll turn back to Colin Hojam now to see, after all these discussions, maybe, we have a bit more, you know, as things of inspiration to share with us, inshallah.
Well, I don't know about inspiration, but I'll share what I have anyway. I hope
So,
Brother Nazif is now sitting more comfortably than he was before. Uh,
yes, sir.
um, two things. First of all, I think there's a mistranslation here. I think on the third line, it should be if the lower self does not take a rest during this month. So if I'm right with this, it means I was wrong when I did the translation because I didn't put the negative there. If the lower self does not take a rest during this month, it makes the factory's workers and the organs attached to it forget their particular duties. It keeps them so busy. So I think it should be not. Thank you. And I will correct the original, inshallah. The second thing is Brother Nazif was talking about instant gratification, and that caught my eye a lot. Um, on the surface, this 8 point seems to be about the physical fast. In other words, the biological fast that we do by not eating and not drinking. Because the body's organs are all connected to our body, and we know that there are medical benefits. This is the hikmah, maybe one of the many hikmahs of fasting. It's not the reason that we fast, of course, but we can't deny that studies have shown that fasting is very good. It's cleaning out the body. It protects against various diseases. They've found out, and lots of people fast. I mean, fasting is not new. Fasting has been, since ancient times, fasting has been followed. And even when not fasting, like the Greek philosophers talked about only eating twice a day or even only once a day, always, and which some people do. And I do that, and I find that it's very, very medically beneficial. But all those who are fasting for the medical benefits, I'm talking about outside of Islam, but also some maybe inside of Islam as well, um, who have the main focus on the medical benefits, we're missing the point really, because this passage is not just about not eating and not drinking. All of the organs need to be attended to, and all of the rizq. We are stopping ourselves from rizq here, or we're not preventing the rizq, but we are regulating it, and we have to do that with all of our other. We have to take care of all of our other organs and faculties as well. Our senses are given to us; they are rizq for us, and we can't just use them as we want. Just when we have rizq in the form of food and drink. Uh, this instant gratification means that a lot of the time, we graze like animals. You see animals like cows eating grass the whole time. Humans become like that as well, on a whim. It's 2 hours before dinner. I think I'll have a snack, or I'll do this and I'll do that. And so instant gratification, we never ever feel hungry in the so-called developed world. Because we're always eating, we're always trying to stave off that feeling of ajz, which has deep psychological connotations, but that's not our issue here. So for the other things, instant gratification as well, like if someone comes to me in the street and swears at me, my first response, my first how can I say desire is to either curse worse than he did or hit him. I have to say this is my lower nafs, my lower self. That's the first instinct it has, because instant gratification, right? I'm not talking about me personally, although it is to an extent true of me personally as well, but generally, right? We like to instantly react. There is no sabr, there's no deliberation. And in this month, it's not just not eating and not drinking, but also stopping the instant gratification in our other senses. Oh, I'm bored. I need to listen to something. And you listen to something, and it's probably not halal for you. I want to watch something on TV, and it's probably not really halal for you, or it's dubious, it's doubtful. So, you know, uh, emotions as well. We have to regulate them because emotions are given to us as rizq. So, at the moment, terrible things are going on. The wars are going on. if there's something I can do, I will do it. But if there's nothing I can do, I'm not going to sit and watch, films of the carpet bombing of whole cities. Why would I do that? I know what human beings are capable of. During Ramadan, I don't want to give myself the opportunity of reacting in a way that would actually break my fast, in a sense, spiritually. Because, we don't just have a stomach for food and drink, we also have a spiritual stomach. And we have to feed that spiritual stomach with halal food. So what we watch, what we look at, what we see, what we listen to, where we go, who we engage with, how we feel about things, all of these things, have to be in a wasat way, in a middle way. And we often forget this. It's very easy to forget, but we do have a spiritual stomach. Actually, I think Ustad actually uses that term. Maybe not here, but in another risala, he talks about a spiritual stomach as well as a physical one. So that was what came to mind when Nazif was talking about instant gratification. It's not just with food and drink; it's with all things, all the rizq that we have. We can misuse them, and we usually do misuse them. In Ramadan, we start with the food and the drink, and then we hope that, we will also be influenced to take that fast to all of our other senses and inner subtle faculties. Thank you.
No, thank you. This is really great because that's definitely that instant gratification aspect is real, right? It is we kind of, especially at this time. But it's not only as you pointed out, is not only about the things to eat and all that. It is also, as you said, the endurance, patience, and of anything, right? The reaction time of reacting, how we react to the world. Are we reacting from our nafs, or are we reacting from our reasoning? Right, those things are definitely real. And yeah, that what you said about filling our spiritual stomach with garbage is not really good either, right? And this is something that we definitely goes undetected, unfortunately. Like, we care about what we eat very carefully, right? Especially us living in the Western societies, we look at things like the ingredient list and stuff to make sure that there is no like pork or alcohol, whatever, in the ingredients and all that, because we would like to keep our physical stomach haram free, but we may not always be able to, or we may not be as careful for our spiritual stomach, of which, I mean, and the inlets for those are like our eyes, our ears, what we listen, what we hear, what we see, what we watch. And it may not be always haram, but if it is garbage, if it is unnecessary things, it will also eventually, I think, it's like the junk food, right? I mean, we are careful with haram things, but we also try to be careful with junk food not going into our system so much. Similarly, I think those things that will not really help us, especially in the afterlife, let alone the world life. I mean, most of them are not even helpful to us in our worldly life. It's just, as you said, like to see certain things in a way, or like just to confirm our biases or confirm our thoughts, or have some sort of like have a knowledge. I mean, we think it's knowledge, but it is just sometimes information that is not necessarily going to be helping us. So it is definitely that Ramadan helps us be that person with a bit more careful eye towards everything. I think we have a chat message. I will inshallah read that from iPhone 101. Since it's long, I need to resize my window. Okay. I'll read that, and inshallah we can take comments from that. It's interesting because even access to what is licit can be harmful in poisoning the spirit according to the text. And I understand this as access to food, drink at any particular time represents and resembles a false sense of self-ownership I may carry within myself. But by refraining from things like food, water, something I need practically, but usually I never let myself feel the true need, allows me to numb what messages the emotions such as hunger and thirst are being made to convey to me. That is, redirections from materiality, body, immediate pleasure to awareness of need for meaningfulness in existence, spiritually, akhirah.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that that access, right? The contributor here points out the our even ability to access, right? But I'd like to also hear from Kolnabi and Nazifabi about this, maybe before we move on.
I think that you could have a whole session on the chat messages, actually, because yes, I mean, even what is licit, we shouldn't think that we can do it when we want, or that we have the ability, or that we have, because we don't. We don't own those things. Um, Going back to what you were when you were doing the summary, Mustafa, you used the word inlet, and
Yeah.
that's really that's struck me because all of our gross senses, our five physical senses, so sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, they all have inlets, actual physical inlets, because they are channels. Our ears are open.
Mm,
Um, our taste buds, our tongue is covered in inlets, actually physical inlets.
mm,
Our skin for touch, there are pores on our skin. So these are all sort of doors, actual physical doors, which should tell us something about our inner senses, our subtle faculties. There are
mm,
also inlets to them, which, if we don't guard, uh, we will just let in rubbish. So if we go through life without discernment, without making the right choices about how we feed our spiritual stomach, everything will just rush in through those holes, those metaphorical holes. And
mm.
excuse me, and our spiritual stomach will be full of rubbish. Sorry,
Yeah, yeah,
my throat's very dry. um,
yeah. Right.
so we forget those inlets. We forget those channels. We forget those doors, which are always open. You know, you're human. You go out into the outside world. It's not just your five external senses that are, receiving stuff. All of our inner faculties, our subtle faculties, imagination, emotions, desires, wishes, hundreds of them. They are all in receiver mode. There are inlets, and we can't just let anything in. It overwhelms the spiritual stomach and it rots it in the end. So, the word inlet there, you see, you talked about inspiration. I was inspired by your inlet, use of inlet. So that's the inspiration there.
Alhamdulillah. Nazifabi,
Mhm.
would you
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to?
yeah. So, yeah, this like today, like, yeah, it was really kind of beneficial, yeah, beneficial, and I really enjoyed it, and especially just like how comprehensive, like with the message and what Kunlajan was talking about. So, like all these important kind of inlets and everything. So, because they are all just related, and they all have an inner kind of aspect to like somehow like it's training the soul. So like soul is not like it's been composed of only senses and everything, but because like they are all connected to our spirit, our soul, and which is like now has a greater kind of like a purpose to like to help us like to understand all this like, what is going on around us and to become a complete human being. So like we're not only just made of, as you just pointed out, right, like it's been just, oh, I'm gonna be like very careful looking at what I eat. Yes, of course we need to be very careful, but what is the purpose of like being careful only just like eating and drinking? So I should be also kind of careful with like all my actions, like the other things like that I do, how importantly and how usefully like this when I'm using the time in this like world, like this when or like my just relations with the others like around me, like being mindful and everything. So just being a complete human being. So like so then I can just train like in my body, right? So like so that I shouldn't like basically act upon whatever like is when I feel like. So oh, because this is like the age is like beautiful, so then like let me enjoy my time. Of course, I mean just we're not saying that like we should just cut relations and detach ourselves like from reality. No, of course, like and just yes, we're all kind of human beings, but at the same time, we need to like just be very careful, like just because they are all connected to our inner kind of like that richness, like that Allah Almighty gave us. And because these is all these like tools and all these like beautiful kind of senses and everything are given to us to prepare and to inshallah just well invest into to hereafter. So that is the conscious like it's just that makes us like totally different than any like has been created just creature like in this world, right? So like because that having a complete like has been humanity, being a complete human being and having carrying that consciousness every day and every minute like this is like with us, that makes us like it's been totally different than the others, like different than any other, of course I'm just let's say just creature, because like just now that like you are elevating yourself, right? Like you're just basically improving your like every single like the shortcomings and one by one, and taking a personal kind of just attention, right? Like so like the first example just like use that just weeding out like this that unnecessary kind of stuff, like it's been poisonous like kind of weed. So then like some just they shouldn't hinder my personal growth, because like why the personal growth is important. So because like it is important because I am preparing myself for hereafter. So because like this is not the life, the worldly life, because like compared to others, other life, this is almost kind of nothing. That's so short, like very short. And I shouldn't like some just busy myself, make busy myself like it's more or basically just like another kind of example that I shouldn't give my time to other people, to like some to other kind of whatever is happening that I have no just connection to, or maybe just reach out to like someone to correct like the wars or this and that, like and all this like nonsense like and this stuff like going around us, like just that I shouldn't like give my attention to them, because well just it would be like it's been just very poor kind of trait, right? Because like there is no kind of benefit like this to ourselves. So then that means our first and most like an attention is like just now what can I just how can I like just now train like my own soul for a greater kind of purpose. That is just like my take like something today. But thank you so much for this like in a great like in a session and great inspiration, I should say, and great messages that we just exchanged.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, no, thanks. I mean, we are out of time, but it is indeed, that was very valuable to me as well. And I think in the way of summary, I think it is a bit of like us understanding our position in the universe. I guess it's kind of lacking in the sense that we do not really see ourselves as the vicegerents on earth, the Khalifatul Ard, and we kind of try to we assume things like we can take garbage in to through those inlets and just be fine, but it looks like we cannot, right? We cannot just assume that we will be, I guess what Konoja has mentioned, like discernment, I think is important. We should be able to discern whatever we get in. And yeah, I guess you pointed out, Nazifa, consciousness, right? Being always conscious about our choices, right? At every step of our life, inshallah. We are out of time, but I think Kadir brother has his hand up. And would you be, if it's quick, maybe?
Yes, Father. Can you
Yeah.
hear me? Hear me
Yes.
right now, right?
Yes.
Um, Nowadays, most of the people they try to do different things to train their souls in a different way. But Risale Nur shows us in Ramadan month how to make it perfectly, as brother said. It's impossible for a person eating a lot and doing or training their souls in a good way. So Ramadan shows us that how we are poor and how we cannot catch the food even we have that opportunity. And Risale Nur also gives a perfect example in the situation of the Allah ordered shaitan, that story, sending it to the hell, and it doesn't accept whatever Allah says. And finally, it has to accept when it is hungry. We remember that story too. So as a briefly, being hungry and just having a empathy stomach really makes you feel better and to understand the most of the things and train your own soul in a good way. Thank you, Abi.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Yeah, it was a good summary as well, and you remind us of that story of the nafs and that about hunger, which is covered in ninth point. Which we will not really have time today. But Colin Hocam, any final thoughts on your end before we end?
No, not at all. Thank you. But it was very useful. I got a lot from today's session. Thank you so much, everyone.
Alhamdulillah, we all did. Okay, then I'll turn to Jazmali for maybe a final dua for us to leave, inshallah.
Allah, there is a good prayer in the customer letters. I wanna, inshallah, make that dua. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this upcoming night of power, Laylatul Qadr, be more auspicious for you and for us than 1,000 months. That it be recorded as such in our book of deeds. As Said Nursi, he says, until the Eid, we pray, O Allah, make our Laylatul Qadr in this Ramadan better for us and for the sincere students of the Risale Nur and for all the believers than 1,000 months, inshallah. O Allah, grant us understanding of the mysteries of the Quran and success in the service of it at every instant, at all times. اللهم فهمنا أسرار القرآن ووفقنا لخدمته في كل آن وزمان. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. الفاتحة.